Good evening, Baller Nation. It's your boys, the Shotcallers, back with another podcast episode. The date is October 1st, 2019. And as always, we're back to talk basketball. Right in front of me, I got my boy Richard Bam Bam Bustos. Remember the Flintstones?
Yeah.
That's the
Bam, Bam,
Bam Bam. Bam Bam.
Bam Bam Rubble.
He was Fred's
No, that's Barney's.
Barney's
yeah,
kid.
Barney's brother.
Fred's friend's kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
With
Barney's
the white
kid.
hair.
And to my left, I got my boy Andre Wordsmith West.
Wordsmith.
Quite the
Okay.
Wordsmith, Andre. I thought I'd shoot that one your way. That and it started with a W, so.
All right, cool. I'll take it.
And we're back to talk basketball, guys. First off, let's kick it off with a little bit of social media. What do you got, Rich?
Well, before that, we want to announce our new schedule for the show.
Oh, yes. So as of today, we are moving our show. If you're watching us, as you can see, you're probably watching us on Wednesday morning. So our recording time has moved up or back a day. We'll be recording on Tuesday evenings. And so if you are used to watching us or listening to us on Tuesday mornings, just adjust your schedule. Go into your Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, whatever that is.
Update that. Let
So
them
you
know.
don't miss a show. If you're watching this on YouTube, as long as you hit that little bell next to the subscribe button down there, you'll get notifications as soon as those episodes pop
Yeah,
up.
don't panic Tuesday night or Monday night if you don't see an episode.
Tuesday
We're coming.
morning.
We're coming.
We'll announce everything on Twitter if anything changes in the future. We announced this one today. Speaking of Twitter, we wanted you guys to remember to like and subscribe and follow us. Recommend to other people to follow us on social media. On Twitter, at Shotcallers Show. On Instagram, at _Shotcallers. Send us any emails with feedback or suggestions or any questions to our listener questions for the fan mail at shotcallershow@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the bell icon like JV was saying. Leave a comment in the comment section. Whatever you want to do. We will read everything. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. A lot of our show content is formed by our listeners. So if you suggest something, odds are you're going to make it into the show, and we're going to create exactly what you guys want. So please keep doing that and spread the word. If you know someone that likes the NBA, just talk to them. Say, hey, these are these guys. This show's growing. We're on the rise. Give them a listen. And we really, really appreciate the recommendation. We're trying to improve our show, grow the show, and get as big and as widespread as possible. We love doing this.
And you can ask some of our more constant listeners like DJ,
Kyle, Ramiro.
If you check us out on Twitter, you'll see we're very quick to respond, particularly Rich. Rich, you're on that. You beat me to it every single time.
Notifications, baby.
But if you guys want to talk to us on Twitter, just have a quick question on our thoughts, or if you have an idea for future episodes, we're quick to respond. And as our other listeners will quickly tell you, we're definitely are all for putting you on the next show and shouting you out. So keep them coming. And like Richard said, we want to continue those reviews on Apple Podcasts because that's really what's going to help the
It really
growth.
helps with visibility.
Yeah, it puts more eyes on our show whenever we get those reviews, because that's just the way it works. But without further ado, let's move on to kick it off with news. Rich?
Well, there's a bunch of news this week.
A lot of news.
As the NBA ramps up towards the regular season start. Actually, some games have started already. The Rockets played on
Shanghai Sharks. Yeah.
Monday. They routed the Shanghai Sharks. James Harden had a triple-double in the first half. But anyway, I just say that to say is that the news is going to keep coming fast and furious. This past week, we actually had the first, victims or perpetrators of the NBA's new emphasis on tampering.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Bucks got fined $50,000 for tampering with their own player, Andre.
Their own star player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think they said they were going to offer him the max, and that's apparently that's a big no-no.
Yeah,
they were slap on the wrist with a $50,000 fine.
They were at a season ticket event, and I guess they were taking a Q&A, and they were saying, how do you intend to keep Giannis, or what do you plan to do for the future? And they said, we plan to offer them a supermax extension because everyone knows he's going to be eligible after winning MVP and being a top All-NBA player. So I thought it was strange that you can tamper with your own players, but he will be a free agent at the time that they're talking about.
Yes,
so I guess that's it, huh? So
I think it'd be understood in that kind of situation they'd offer that, but I guess, like you said, the league has to make an example at least to appear somewhat, consistent with the rules that they're putting out.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. And I think it really is that, like you're saying. It's to set an example to make sure that it's zero tolerance. And I think you keyed in on it, Rich. It's because they're talking about when he hits free agency. So I think tampering has kind of evolved into a larger, broader term that not only means talking to players that aren't on your roster or aren't on your team. It just means, in essence, you cannot discuss free agency outside of the realm of, post moratorium.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even matter if it's in this situation, it's hypothetical, and they
Yeah.
got fined $50,000. So I think it's good if they're truly wanting to enforce it. I think this is the way to do it, right? Because you're removing more and more gray area as you go along. So them finding a team for talking about their own player who's locked down for one more year, and then he's probably going to opt out. That's huge, because now it's like, what can we can't even say that. So what's next, right? You can't even hint at it. I mean, last year, when Doc talked about Kawhi, it was a little bit more understood. And even then, I was kind of like, whoa, he's just talking about how much he admires him.
Yeah.
But now it's like, dude, I can't even talk about
my own player.
Yeah.
Right.
But actually, to that extent, with the Doc Rivers example, there was like, I guess, a press release from the NBA mentioning that how much certain executives like other players, like in the Kawhi example, is going to be okay. I guess just things like this is going to be where they draw the line.
Are they going to get a refund on that?
No, I don't. Shit.
So that actually surprises me, because that is more likely to create some tampering, because the player who otherwise would not have known what teams were interested in him now has early access or an early idea of where he might go. Because if it's midway through the season and I'm a contender, name a contender.
The Clippers.
Yeah.
Guys, name the most deep team in the NBA. Anyway, the Clippers.
The
Jazz.
Warriors.
The Warriors. Okay, the Warriors is a better example. The Warriors, right? They don't have KD. Klay Thompson's hurt, and they're like, hey, we're going to make the playoffs, but we really want to make a push this year. Hey, Steve Kerr, in your next interview, say you really like, I don't know, Marcus Smart. Somebody who's a free agent. Somebody who's trade talks, right? Who's on the verge of coming off a contract. Is probably going to become a free agent. Now you want to start something early before, anybody
planting the
else.
seeds,
Yeah.
dropping the
Before even
breadcrumbs
making
out
that
there.
phone call, you
Yeah.
start talking about like, hey, I really like so-and-so's game. And then that guy's like, they like me? Let me start some shit in my own.
Put the Google AdWords.
Let me bust an Antonio Brown and ruin the
Get out of this place.
ruin the locker room chemistry so they'll trade me.
That's a
Boston Nightmare.
I see.
Part
I
two.
see what you mean, but I'm pretty skeptical to think that would be the first seed.
I'm all
plan.
kinds of conspiracy
man.
theory over here, man. You never know.
Okay. But yeah, so
That's still ridiculous that they find them for talking about Giannis.
Hey, gotta make an
at
example.
their own event. But
Yeah.
How is that tampering? I don't get how that's tampering.
It's like you said, they're trying to establish a clear line.
yeah, but that's like
It's crazy.
shit's transparent
but,
as
hey,
fuck.
for the next bit of news, I think Andre got a kick out of this one especially. The NBA has sent out a memo to teams that yearly players will have to be measured specifically and accurately in terms of their height and their age prior to training camp by a certain deadline.
So Kevin Durant's not 7 feet tall.
Well, no,
He
he
is
might be
7
7 feet
feet
tall.
Oh,
Yeah,
but they've been calling him 6'11".
yeah, exactly.
I think the age thing came from Buddy Hield, right? I think they had him listed at the wrong age from the draft. They actually got his age from Wikipedia.
And,
Yeah.
and so
Wow.
somebody wished him happy 25th birthday.
And he's like, I'm 26.
I'm 26,
dog.
baby. And they were like, what?
And NBA is like,
I would hope that the Kings like were more thorough.
I don't know.
when they drafted him.
Yeah, they're like, let me see those
Well, they-
birth certificates now.
Well, they traded for him. The
sorry.
Pelicans drafted him.
Pelicans drafted him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that really shifts a prospect. Oh, we got this whole year 25. This contract ends when he's 27.
What if they traded for him and they thought he was a year younger?
It's
He
possible.
was like, oh man, yeah, give
Somebody-
me that money back. This
Somebody don't put it past Vlade.
That reminds
this
me-
contract was signed in bad faith.
That reminds me of that who were the two guys last year that they traded? It was
Oh, the guys that ended up on the wrong
because they had the same last name.
yeah, the Memphis guy,
yeah,
the
yeah,
Washington guy. You're making me feel bad because I don't remember their
think of
names on the top of their head.
But it's like we wanted the other.
Yeah,
Wait.
y'all chat. I'll look it up.
Was
Yeah.
that real?
Yeah,
I thought that was like
Yeah.
a.
That was
We
true.
reported on
Oh,
it.
It was
man.
like it was like
I thought that was like a dream.
it was
Or
like
it was
a-
like a joke or
I
something.
feel like it was like a 4 or 5 player trade, but one of the key pieces were these two guys, and I want to say their last names were like Jackson or something like that.
Yeah.
And they wanted the other Jackson. He's about to give you the actual names.
Oh my
but-
god, I thought that was just a.
No, it really happened,
sketch or
and
something.
so like the trade fell through, and they were just like, never mind. Who was the big piece in that trade? I can
It wasn't a major trade.
but there was like one key player or draft picks. I can't remember, but dude, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah. That
When
would
they
be
traded for
pretty
Buddy
funny.
Hield.
They're like, oh what?
Yeah,
Dude, he's 25.
So yeah, they thought they were getting Dylan. They thought they were getting Marshawn Brooks,
Brooks,
but they got Dylan Brooks instead. And
Yeah.
so they were like, oh,
they terminated the trade.
Yeah, Washington, Memphis, and the Jazz.
Okay,
Memphis
yeah.
ended up
It was a
coming in to
3-team
save
trade?
the day. It was a 2-team trade, but then the guys that accidentally got traded ended up staying on the team, and they were like, well, he was like, you don't really want me here, huh, Washington? And so he ended up going to Memphis.
Oh,
Is
okay,
what
makes
happened.
sense. So Memphis came in afterwards to kind of
Relieve
relieve the awkwardness.
Yeah, exactly.
Really thought you were 25 there, buddy.
But yeah,
It's not gonna work.
Literally, buddy.
Another thing in terms of height, JJ Barea from the Mavericks that was listed, I think, at 6 feet tall.
I'm
He's shorter than me.
Came
I'm
out
curious
be-
to see what Chris Paul is at.
Came
Like
out-
everyone knows JJ.
Came out, yeah. I mean, and there's a famous clip of when the Mavericks are playing in Cleveland, and then a fan like yelled out, 5'10" my ass, you phony. And apparently he's under 5'10" wearing socks. So that's like shorter than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is short.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a testament to how.
He can still hoop. He got a title.
Well, yeah, it's how impressive it has to be an athlete in that league at.
And
shorter
LeBron
than
couldn't
regular
post him
people.
up.
But yeah, and so another interesting one, Chris Paul, JJ Barea. So
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
I mean, that.
Oh.
It won't be like a huge impact, but I think it's good.
I think it's interesting just to see how
it's
tall they
almost
really
a little
are.
ridiculous.
Well, it'll be funny to also see like somebody like Draymond Green who has such a big impact, playing with big bodies and centers on the floor, playing point center at times where if he's listed at 6'9",
I think he's like 6'7", but he's really like 6'5".
6'5", it's pretty
He's
crazy.
like Charles Barkley.
I think it's good for the guys that are shorter
Yeah.
because if you're correctly listed at 6'4",
you get
and they're looking for a 6'7" guy, but you actually are 6'7", or not even that, but Draymond, if let's say what is he listed at 6'9", but you find out he's actually 6'6" or something like that. Now, and he plays very good defense. Now more guys coming up are gonna be looked at and be like, hey, you don't have to be 6'9".
Yeah, I think even still, like for those kind of guys, especially defensive players, it's the wingspan.
Yeah.
So
and strength and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff like that.
yeah,
Speed
Yes.
and no, I'm just kidding.
Just a funny
and just athleticism.
just a funny tidbit.
Man.
And then another, I was going to say league-wide rule because we're looking at NBA kind of things going on right now, but something that changed in the G League this season that they're going to experiment with is something that I think is really, really exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
And so if in case anyone has missed it,
It's like some game show stuff.
no, it's not. I don't think it's game show stuff. I like it. So when a player gets fouled in the G League, what they're going to try to do is instead of shooting 2 individual free throws to
Or
earn
3.
their 2 points, or 3 individual free throws if somebody gets fouled for a 3, they will shoot 1 free throw that counts for the total value of what that foul,
So you
what the
get-
foul shots would have been. So you get 0 or 3 points,
Yeah,
or you get
that's
0
crazy.
or 2 points.
Shaq is fussing and cussing and rolling.
I like it because I feel like
alive.
it'll
Nah, Dame killed him.
it'll deter people from. Well, it really won't. I was gonna say it might deter people from doing that whole like let me jump into you thing because if I miss a free throw then it's a turnover essentially.
Yeah.
But these guys are really good free throw shooters, so it doesn't even matter.
I mean, even then, if you're shooting 50%, that's good. Because 50% turns into you make one, you get both, right?
yeah, I get what you're saying, but you got to make the first one. It's not 50%.
Oh, I thought it was
to
you have
make the
2
first one.
chances to
No,
make
no, you
one.
got to make.
Oh,
Oh, so
one
you got to
shot.
make one.
Yeah. So the terrible free throw shit is probably worse because you miss the first one, you don't even get a chance to get the second one. You just get so
Okay,
like
so it's like a zero-sum game.
And
shit, you
first
hack a
off.
Shaq and you're just fucked.
And this isn't applicable in the last.
You know what? That's actually pretty good because it speeds the game up too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. But this is not applicable to the last 2 minutes and to overtime.
where it actually takes forever.
Yeah, you're right. But I think you guys hit it on the head. They are trying to shorten games and get them down to like basically under the 2 hour mark. I think another place that they could do that if they want to shave off time, if they were to adopt this in the NBA, which I don't really think they will, unless it's like, crazy good or entertaining results in the G League. But I think another spot that they could look at is looking at NBA official review when they're trying to get an out of bounds play right or this or that or review this foul or flagrant foul. Like give them a minute cap to review that stuff because sometimes we're out there 5 minutes, they go to commercial and then another minute before they.
I never understood
before
why
they
it
settle
takes
it.
so long, considering that the call comes from like New York.
Yeah,
right?
like New Jersey or
Well,
something.
whatever.
Yeah.
But then there's the ones that the on-court officials get the chance to rule on, specifically like flagrant fouls and like acts of like passion and stuff like that the guys in New York don't get to rule on. So I just think that's another spot they could cut down on time.
So I don't know the ins and outs of this, but wouldn't it make it faster to? And I don't understand how these work. But wouldn't you cut down more time? And I already know what you're gonna say, probably. But wouldn't you cut it down more by getting rid of the TV timeouts?
Oh, but you
Yeah,
have to.
but
But
sell
you have to
ads.
have the TV timeouts because
Yeah.
you have ads.
If any-
Got
if-
ads, yeah.
if anything, they can.
You got to optimize it, man.
If anything, they have more time for ads here
Yeah.
because what I was going to say is that
That's why they want to do it, right? That's why you want to speed up.
yeah,
the
you
game.
want to be able to sell more advertisements. And another side effect potentially, if we were gonna experiment and try this in the NBA, is like the competition is so fierce, especially in the playoffs and towards the end of the season and close games. Like if we go these long stretches, where there's 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes without a foul, like guys are huffing and puffing, waiting for that TV timeout, waiting for the substitution. Like it's high intensity play. It's the number one league for basketball in the world, of course. And so sometimes guys need that one free throw to rest and catch their break for 45 seconds. That's why you get guys like Zach Randolph trying to go, with Blake Griffin, who's like in year 3 of his Clippers career. And he's like, and they ask each other. You can read about this on an ESPN.com article saying like, they're boxing each other out, and they ask each other, "Are you going to go on this one?" And the other guy says, "No." "Okay, we'll make it look good so the coach doesn't think that I'm not trying to try. I'm trying to rest. It's a long season." So it could cut out stuff like that. And like I said, it could really work into like fatigue and like who knows how it could be. And we need a lot of time to measure that stuff out. What do you mean?
I think at that point, let's use the bench more. Like
I guess so, but that's still
let's be strategists.
But that's still a major effect compared to what it previously was.
We keep moving more and more to like load management stuff.
But I'm not saying that it shouldn't be that way for that reason. I'm saying it could be an effect that you have to monitor.
They'll be okay.
Yeah. Maybe they'll compensate by that, but adding more time before you shoot the free throw.
Athletes are in the best shape like in the history of the NBA.
But I think you're underestimating how, like, literally go look at a stretch of time where they play for 5 minutes without a foul. Like, those guys
especially
are gassed.
at the end of the game.
Yeah, like it's gassed. I'm just saying it's another factor. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it shouldn't be that way or that we're too tough on the players. I'm not saying that either.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting to see how this will play out overall. Y'all think y'all ever see that making to the NBA?
I don't think so either, but I think it's badass. Yeah. I wanted to speed up that.
I think it's crazy to see that they're trying stuff like this. Like maybe they'll do the 4-point line next season.
No, I would never want that.
What I read is
Christ.
they're doing it to keep the fucking games in the G League under 2 hours because then that
you know exactly how long.
You know when it's going to be on TV, and I'm assuming the G League doesn't have the same. It's probably part of a package with the NBA, but. You keep it within 2 hours. It only eats. How many. How much TV time you're going to take up. Yeah. It allows for better scheduling, things like that.
I mean, if NBA games could be under 2 hours, I think that'd be really great for a lot of people, like myself included.
How would that even happen?
Have the in the ways that you're proposing, and so cut down the halftime show or the on the TNT ones, and like imagine having games that didn't end at 1 a.m. Central Time.
Well, that goes back to what I'm saying about. And granted, I don't think they don't have the same amount of like TV timeouts and halftime stuff that the NBA games have. But part of why these guys can play so high pace in G League is because there's so many substitutions. So that goes back to what I'm saying about then just get better at using your bench. But nobody wants to see the bench, so I guess that's why.
Yeah. And the coaches don't want to see the bench out there if they're trying to win. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's that one. And then we kind of have some more individual transactions and things that happen with different teams. Portland and Dallas picked up player options on Zach Collins, on I got it right here. On Zach Collins and third-year Anthony Simons, who had an injury-riddled year last year, but they're really excited for him. And we all know how Zach Collins performed in spot minutes in the playoffs, contributed throughout the regular season, and I think that they're going to hinge heavily on him as far as whether they make the playoffs or not and how he performs alongside Hassan Whiteside. And then Dallas picked up Luka's second-year option. Like, obviously, why would you not do that? And then Justin Jackson's fourth-year option, thinking that he can improve as a spot-up shooter. He did have some starts near the end of the year as the Mavericks weren't trying super hard to get a great pick.
Yeah.
Or they were trying super hard to get a great pick, whichever way you want to go about it. So that was pretty interesting. And then we had Markelle Fultz announcing that he's expected to fully participate in practice starting October 1st, which is today, the time of this recording. Mm-hmm. Excited about that one, Andre?
I'm very excited. Be fun to watch the Magic and see if he can live up to his first-round draft pick status. I did see his follow through. The little spinner Rudy. Yeah, I saw that one.
He drops on the ground and does like the breakdance.
He's got one on a trampoline too, I think, and one on a papa shot. So he just going everywhere, trying everything.
Hey, whatever works.
Experimentation is what we were just talking about in the G League.
Y'all saw? Hey, Harden tried his new step back against Shanghai.
That was pretty awesome. Yeah.
I mean, it clanked, but still.
Yeah.
You see that. So
I thought that was cool. And like Markelle Fultz doesn't have to be like a top 3, prospect. Like he's being paid like a top of the end first rounder, but if he just ends up being a rotation level point guard that can be a starter in this league, top 30, Like, isn't that great? You know,
I mean,
for what
he's
they got him
very athletic. He can still create very well. He's a good defender. Like, worst case scenario, he'll still be like a good utility player in this league. But
worst
him
case
having a
scenario
shot,
is he'll be like a worse Rajon Rondo. I don't know,
I
but
think, yeah.
so he
I mean,
could be
he's
really
not as
good,
bad as
and I'm hoping
Lonzo.
for him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I think Andre's saying that's what he sees as his floor.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, this floor could be lower in my opinion, but I think that his ceiling doesn't have to be that high for the Magic to be happy about him. And I like seeing how excited he seems to be going into this season. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch them too. Ryan Anderson ended up going back to the Houston Rockets this year.
That'll be good.
After being traded to the Phoenix Suns, who then traded him to the Miami Heat, who waived him in this offseason. He is quoted as saying, he's like, it's like I never left. They play exactly the same here. You know, everything's the same. I just plug right in, shoot my shots.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
I think with that, them picking him up, I don't think he'll see much time in the playoffs, but what he offers them is, you know, another stretch big who can hit shots during the regular season.
Yeah, he's a relief valve. He's a relief valve for the regular season.
Yeah.
Where
Especially when you got Westbrook out there.
Yeah, he's
so.
a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what I was thinking was he's 31. Like, he's not somebody that wants to get up and down the floor and run. Maybe he'll trail behind like a fast break from Russell Westbrook if Russell Westbrook wants to get out and run with the second unit. But I really see him not starting, but playing if they're going to do like kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Harden slowing things down, doing his thing, kicking out the shooters, rolling to Clint Capella, and then Russell Westbrook stays in with the bench and gets to run it down their throat with their more athletic guys.
Yeah.
Like Talbot Cephalosha, who likes to run, and guys like that. Whereas Ryan Anderson sticks with the Harden side, bombs the threes, spaces the floor, and then maybe plays with Russell Westbrook in that trailing mode that I was talking to you about. So I think that's kind of what I envision, and so we'll see how that goes for him.
Just more weapons. Yeah.
You're going to be dropping buckets from the top of the...
Just under the logo. Just
under the logo?
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't care. As long as his feet are set, he's gonna chuck it.
That's kind of like a Dirk play towards the latter half.
The trailing,
Yeah, just
the trailing
just
three.
hang back.
Three.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit was nasty.
Let's see.
Yeah.
And so after that, we have Kyrie Irving. He's listed as day-to-day after
facial fracture, right?
Yeah, a facial
Practice?
fracture.
You have to put the mask back on?
Elbow to the
I hope
face.
so, but
Nobody cared who he was.
until you put the mask on, dude. Those mask games. I think once you put a mask on, you just you automatically go up.
I like the black mask. It makes
The black mask was
but
really tight.
They
Carbon fiber.
They outruled it, or they
Yeah.
ruled it out, or whatever. After LeBron had his Batman black mask game.
I remember that.
Dude,
That was in Miami,
when you put a mask on, no, it was on the Cavaliers, I believe.
You wore it in Miami.
No, it was in Miami too.
But anyway, so yes, day to day, I don't think he'll be wearing the mask, especially not during the start of the regular season. One funny thing was that I think it was Sean Marks, their GM, said that he's prone to facial injury, and he is. He's done it.
He is, man.
Yeah, like 3 times he's broken his face.
It's probably the same area.
Is that just because he goes in hard?
Yeah. He's not tall. You know, he's gonna go in at like elbow level for a lot of guys, mixing it up.
That's another player who I'm really interested to see what his real height is, because he's listed at what, 6'3"? Yeah.
Uncle Drew.
I want to see that.
I mean, if y'all saw any of Uncle Drew, he looks like the height of a normal dude.
Yeah, compared to those regular actors.
Yeah.
Oh, and some regular NBA regular players too. He's probably playing pickup games against Joe Schmo out there on the
Well, that's
court.
what I'm saying. He looks their height.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then another final transaction was for the New Orleans Pelicans. Darius Miller, somebody they signed to a 2-year, $14.2 million deal, tore his Achilles this offseason. So really frustrating for him, frustrating for the Pelicans. They did apply for a disabled player exception, earning them $3.6 million to use possibly in a trade exception, or use in a trade to get some talent, or possibly sign somebody at the veterans minimum. I was going to say somebody like Talbot Cephalosha, but he's signed to the Rockets now. Thinking of guys like J.R. Smith, who used to play with David Griffin up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Iman Shumpert, another guy that comes to mind that can kind of fill out the roster. And I say veterans minimum because I think that a team as young as them, they have J.J. Redick on the team and a couple of other stalwarts, Drew Holiday, but more veteran presence around those young guys probably couldn't help. So that's what couldn't hurt. So that's what I'm thinking.
Sorry, I thought you said couldn't help.
I did actually.
Like,
I did say that.
Yeah.
Man.
Griffin's putting a good
if
squad together.
If
for
anybody
them.
is wondering what Richard's talking about, essentially the exception just allows you not to pay a tax on the amount that you spend, or on that amount, and you can use it for something else.
So that's that. The Grizzlies and former number 4 pick Josh Jackson, they actually mutually agreed to have him not attend Grizzlies training camp after trading for him, and that may seem like a red flag. And it is. He's the guy that I believe didn't show up to an autograph signing for the Suns when he was playing on the Suns.
Oh, man.
He was supposed to be at whatever grocery store signing autographs, and James Jones, the GM of the Suns, had to show up when he wasn't there, and the fans were all angry, and he was like, "I'm sorry, I'll buy y'all groceries." He bought everybody beer and stuff like that.
I wouldn't even be mad.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I get my groceries paid. Let's go.
I came for an autograph and I got a case of beer.
Yeah,
All right.
he'll be playing for the Memphis Hustle this year. He plays forward, so that's a team that's actually pretty stacked with that position with Jaren Jackson Jr. among others. So I think with his behavior on the Suns, his behavior in Kentucky, where he actually like got arrested or was loitering in the wrong place, like I think he wants to give his character reputation a kind of a fresh slate. That's what Memphis wants to do for him too. And Memphis is a place where somebody like Zach Randolph, after being on those Jailblazers teams and just being an ordinary dude, showed up.
Real enforcer.
Forgot about that name, the Jailblazers.
Yeah, when they they kind of got him into shape and kind of corralled
helped
him,
reform him,
embraced him. So maybe Josh Jackson can be a similar thing. He was taken that high for a reason.
Memphis is rehab for the NBA.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. That's where Chandler Parsons went to rehab for a long time.
I want to touch on this. It's not on the agenda, but we're talking about Memphis. Did you guys see what Andre Iguodala said about the Grizzlies?
I did not. No, what did he say?
He basically said...
Was this media day?
So he was talking about... They were asking him, and he was talking about... I don't think it was media day. I don't remember. But they were asking him about, how did he feel when he got traded to the Warriors? He's like, oh, the day before it happened, I was texting calling my wife, and telling her like she was asking me, what do you think is gonna happen? And I was like, I don't know, probably get traded to Memphis or something like that. And the next day, I see it on Twitter that I got traded to Memphis, and I just died laughing. So like died laughing in the sense, in the way that he worded it was essentially like, I don't fucking go to.
It sounds funny
Memphis.
to me. Well, to me, the way you worded it is like he died because he predicted it. You know what I mean?
No, he meant it like.
That's the worst place I'd want to be.
And so that's why Memphis came out and said that they are absolutely not trading him, or they're not buying him out unless they just find somebody that they.
Why would you?
And they're like, you don't have to report. That's fine. We don't care if you ride the bench. That's fine. We're not buying you out.
Yeah, so, they're not like contended or nothing. So it's like, they'll be petty.
Which I think is great. We talked about it several podcasts ago, but that's great, man. Like, don't let these guys that are like
that's true.
That are
ring chasing, basically. He's not a ring chaser. He's obviously a Finals MVP and everything.
Yeah, but he's not like he was. I mean, I guess at one point, but he was never like superstar.
Yeah, I mean, he made an All-Star game. He went. He played with I think Allen Iverson on the Sixers.
Yeah.
And on the Nuggets.
Yeah.
No, not on the Nuggets. Too.
He was gone.
He was on the Nuggets for 1 year.
Oh, you were asking like
I was in Detroit.
Yeah, but guys that have reached a certain amount of like status or clout in the NBA get to dictate wherever they want to go. I know. I mean,
he's not
if he was 4 years younger.
Well,
maybe,
just in general, I hate when. And a lot of guys don't do this, but I hate when anybody has anything to say about a market, because in all reality, without the small markets, there's no NBA. So it's like you should be happy to play anywhere. And this reminds me, I was watching a clip about, this is football, but Eli Manning, when he didn't want to go to the Chargers when he first got drafted, he was like the consensus #1, and he didn't want to go to the Chargers. And one of the other guys, it was like a behind the scenes video. One of the other rookies that was highly touted said, I would love to play in San Diego. And that's like, that should be the mentality. Like, you're about to play in the NBA or the MLB or whatever. Like, what does it matter where you go? Your life's about to change, and yet these guys want to get picky about where they're going to play. Like,
it's just the amount of being jaded or whatever. And, it's like, it's so what you don't get the storybook ending that you want at this moment. But I think it'd be better if you're remembered fondly for being a team player wherever you go.
And up to that point, I think a lot of people felt that way about Andre Iguodala.
I don't know. Those Nuggets fans still seem kind of sour after they played that one series against the Warriors, when the Nuggets were actually rumored to like being dirty, but targeting Steph Curry and targeting his ankles is a rumor that went out there. And so they were saying that Andre didn't play very hard during that series and then signed with the Warriors. Yeah. So they were saying that he mentally checked out. So there's some Nuggets fans that may disagree with the idea that he's always been on the up and up or whatever.
Yeah, but I think that's more speculation. So I can't really like use that. But when somebody comes out and laughs about going to Memphis or is like, oh, I just want to get bought out, like, I don't know.
He's gonna have to get on that Jalen Rose workout program. Rumor is that, if you're riding the bench, you got to stay in shape, especially if he wants to go at the trade deadline to another contender, hopefully get bought out. How do you do it? Jalen Rose once said that when he was playing, I think in Phoenix as an old player, couldn't get minutes, he'd keep a stack of like $30,000 in his locker. And so after practice, he'd challenge the rookies, hey, first to 10, I'll bet you $5,000 on it. And they'd be like, all right. So he's like, that way I get their best shot.
Wow, that's smart.
Yeah. And then, I get to stay in shape that way. So maybe you can take a page out of his book, stay in shape for the
It seems like a very good investment.
It is. Unless you're old and you don't want to get injured.
Yeah.
But
even then, like, you're either going to get injured or not get signed to it anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I thought that was pretty funny when I first said it, and that's what it made me think of.
Yeah.
I think about Vince Carter since it's probably his last season. It should be.
It is.
It's definitely his last one.
So I can imagine him doing that. But the thing is, Vince Carter gets minutes.
Yeah.
He gets minutes, and yeah, I think he practices diligently enough to stay in shape.
He'd probably still do very well
still
one-on-one.
Yeah, he's probably
one-on-one.
That's for sure. Yeah, and so to round out the news and to kind of swing it back to the previous, what I was talking about with Kyrie Irving, is he actually had an interview. Did you guys catch the interview that he had with the Nets?
Yeah, I got a
Is
little
that the
bit
one
of
he
it.
was talking about?
He was
his
talking
reasons
about
for leaving Boston.
His reason for leaving, his mentality while he was there.
Why he feels like it didn't work.
Yeah, he feels like it didn't work, and he felt like
Family
he failed
issues.
them, actually.
Yeah.
And so to summarize, basically, he was talking about how he had a mentality change when he had a death in the family. His grandfather died, and he had never been able to process something like that in his life before, and it affected his whole life, including his work life, which is the NBA.
Yeah.
And sometimes people forget that for these guys, the NBA is work. We've all gone to work, troubled before where you can't really focus, and he was talking about how that really affected him, and how it was different playing with young guys like Terry Rozier and Marcus Smart, who were all trying to be great on their own, compared to playing with guys that had achieved greatness already, to where they didn't all feel like they had to prove something, and how all three of them not three of them specifically, but how multiple people on the team kind of clashed in that way. And then when you mixed in the family stuff, it made it, all the more
just a recipe
chaotic.
for disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like, and he didn't say this, but I got the sense that it was almost like, I got more important shit on my mind than these guys trying to
show off and get a highlight, be on the House of Highlights.
Yeah. One thing he said that made a lot of sense to me was the timing. Like, it seemed like the timing was never right. So they get there together, they mesh for a while. Just when it seems something's going on, like, he goes down, they don't get the playoff run, you never get to see it. There's all this like hype around it, all this expectation. Maybe it does get to some of the guys' heads, but and he said, like, you can't get to that point. Like, yeah, the want is there, the desire to be great and to win is there, but you can't create a championship mentality in 2 years, especially with people who are
not enough time.
And I don't know, all of this just reminds me of what Danny Ainge said about Jaylen Brown, where he said, you think our team last year could have beat the Larry Bird, what was it, 86, 87
and Jaylen Brown said
Celtics? Yes. No, he asked Danny Ainge, could they beat them? And Danny was like, nah. So I don't know. I think there were some
Jaylen Brown asked, thinking
delusions
maybe we
of
could
greatness.
Beat them.
Yeah, some delusions of greatness definitely going on in that locker room.
And then, like, to swing it back a little bit to what he was talking about with, like, dealing with grief, like, he went to the funeral and then he went back to work, a few days later. Like, everyone's, like, you can't compare any two people, like, in the world and expect them to be on the exact same wavelength in terms of
everybody
dealing
with
with
everyone's
like
got their own things.
Just think back to Isaiah Thomas playing for the Celtics when his sister died, and he played the next day, right? Yeah. One day, so it's so crazy.
Incredible game.
Especially
then they traded him.
Yeah, I mean, that's
and injured.
Yeah, but
but like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, not everyone recovers the same way
right.
to that kind of trauma.
So it's just something that you have to step back, and we say this a lot, like, be human, but it's one aspect of it. Like, they should be able to, if they need to, like, be off for 2 weeks if that's what they need, and to get back in the right headspace.
I think the most I've ever seen a guy take off. Well, and I think that's because of that. Like, a guy will take off for one game, but then it's like, you're a competitor. Like, you're tough despite all this. Like, you didn't take any time off, and like you said, it shouldn't have to be like that. Like, a guy should take several games off, and we don't judge his game or his character based off of that.
Right. It goes in the whole mental health thing, and I'm glad that hopefully the NBA will continue to seriously support that kind of thing. But I mean, everyone handles grief differently. Some people use the game as a distraction. Others need to get away from it all. So. Hopefully, this will be a better situation for Kyrie moving forward.
Yeah, let's hope. He also was talking about in another Nets kind of presser about how he was ready to protect Kevin Durant at all costs.
Oh yeah, KD.
He wasn't ready to come back, and then KD came back. I don't need nobody protecting me, bro.
Protecting me.
So it kind of made me think, like, is he trying to be, the number one big dog on campus this year? And how is Kevin Durant going to feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely Kyrie's team this year, so KD needs to not take
Just
it
chill
so
out, yeah.
personally, I guess. When he says
But he
stuff
takes
like
everything personally, everything.
that. That's true.
But I mean, that's what y'all are signing up for. I hope you guys knew it.
Yeah.
Because they're both very similar in terms of like their mood fluctuations and saying exactly what they think at that exact moment.
Yeah.
So I mean,
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. As long as they win, they'll be okay.
Maybe DeAndre will be the interpreter.
It'll be a fun couple. That's what they hired him for.
Yeah, right.
$8 million interpreter or however much it was. But yeah, so that kind of wraps it up for the news, and I'm sure it's going to keep on coming. So keep it locked on the Shotcallers, guys. What do we got going on next?
So next part of the show is going to be a segment that some of our fans have actually been asking for, and that's going to be our player rankings for this upcoming season. So we all did our individual rankings. We kind of did the average, so we're going to go through the average rank. We'll start from the
15.
bottom. Yeah, we'll start from the bottom, work our way to the top, and essentially this is going to be the consensus kind of list for what we think, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we use as criteria individually to decide where we put players. But you want to kick it off, Rich? Actually, I'll kick it off. I have it right here.
Yeah, I've been talking a good while. I'll let you guys.
So, where's this at? Okay. Okay. So, to kick off our top, ranked at number 15, we have Kemba Walker. So, I personally had Kemba Walker in that spot at the bottom.
I had him at 14. So
You had him at 14.
I actually didn't have him on the list.
Rich did not have him ranked at all.
If he's not top 15, that doesn't mean he's not 16.
He's not in the
totally
league.
okay.
Not 15, you're
Before
trash.
y'all get in my DMs, Celtics fans.
So Kemba Walker is a guy who, obviously I felt like he was going to be a Charlotte Hornet for life. They made indications earlier in the year that might be the case, that it was just going to be a max extension. But then at the end, the Hornets organization seemed to just pull that off the table and went into free agency.
And that was ridiculous for the quote that came out. Not to derail you, but Mitch Kupchak was saying that they were blindsided by the fact that he made All NBA and was eligible for.
Oh yeah.
What?
So I think they expected him to come at a not so steep price.
Yeah, but the word you're using there is blindsided. That's like me saying I was blindsided when my fucking car registration was up for renewal and I got a ticket. Like,
oh, it's even worse because you're blindsided by his success.
Yeah.
Well, like that should be a pleasant blindsiding, right? Pleasant
but you
surprise,
shouldn't be blindsided at all. That was like something that we
you'd be happy.
Yeah.
We factored it in as a possibility.
Or even happy about it.
So anyway, Mitch Kupchak, you do you.
We knew full well that Kemba would make.
So obviously an all-star, all-NBA level player. I think that was deserving of the top 15th level ranking. I have him kind of similarly ranked to Kyrie.
So that's where the discussion always happens, where it's like the 3 All-NBA teams, those should be the 15 best players in the NBA. Right. Obviously, it's not always going to work out that way, and that's why we're doing this list. But I think Kemba Walker, what he did in Charlotte, will hopefully translate into Boston. I think he has a softer touch than Kyrie. Like you said, he doesn't just say what's on his mind the whole time, and I think he's willing to take that back seat and not have to necessarily be the number one option. And he'll have success, but ultimately the success of the Celtics will be in the other guards, and then in Jason Tatum. Ultimately, it's gonna be so weird watching them kind of fall into place because I have no idea. Like I can't look at that team and say this is your number one option every single night. Like if there's a game-winning shot, who's gonna take it? No idea. Like I cannot. And we'll talk about our rankings later on in the future episodes. But that's why I'm not super high on Boston. But I do think Kemba Walker is top 15 talent.
Yeah.
He's definitely in the top 20. I think that he could definitely make an All-NBA team as he just did. I think he's really great. I think he's a really clutch shooter. I think he's got a really great handle. Not quite as crispy as Kyrie, who frequently gets ranked in the top 2 or number 1 handle of all the players in the NBA. I think he'll have success on the Celtics, but projecting his talent going forward, what gave me some pause was the idea that on the team that's constructed for him, given that he didn't have a ton of help in Charlotte, so that's not necessarily a direct comparison, but with the departure of Al Horford being able to drag guys away from the paint with the shooting ability, it might be a little bit more clogged for him trying to navigate the lane and get into the hole. He does shoot a lot of mid-range shots, but I just wonder, as clutch as he is his height going to be a factor for him, especially when he plays against teams like the Sixers in the playoffs with giants like Joel Embiid and Al Horford? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, so I do have a question for you because of where you put him or didn't put him. But to go on that point, I don't think his height is a problem because if you look at his efficiency and he goes off the pick and roll about 35+% of the time. He's actually very efficient from the mid range, so I don't think his height is a factor because you don't necessarily need to shoot over guys when you come off the pick and roll. You can
or get all the way to the rim.
Exactly. So if he has success there, he'll be fine. And you have other guys that can drive to the rim, and you have some shooters on. I mean, you don't have like amazing shooters, but you have shooters on the wings and in the corner. He'll be able to find them. He's very good at that. So I don't think that'll be a problem. But my question, like I talked about, do you see, being that you didn't rank him in the top 15, do you think he deserves that All NBA?
Yeah, I definitely do because. It depends on, like you were saying, how many. There's only so many players at each position, so he's definitely in the top 6 point guards, but maybe not in this list of top 15 players. That's where there's some differentiation, like you were saying.
There's more positional players. Okay, cool.
Exactly. Especially in the later half of top 20, I think that's going to interchange a lot depending on who you ask. But I think consensus-wise, top 10, it's pretty spot on. Yeah.
That 10 might be where you kind of lose some people. But let's move on to number 14. So at number 14, we have Blake Griffin from the Pistons. So Blake Griffin had I guess you could call it a reawakening this year.
Yeah, rebirth.
Rebirth. There you go.
He came out the water a new man.
So he improved in literally every
stat, like shooting, like
assists. He just looks so
rebounds.
He looks so crispy.
He did it all, man. He's a point forward.
Some of those shots where he was just going like pump fake behind the back to keeping staying outside the 3-point line, a little bit past the arc towards the corner, and then draining another three. So smooth, looking great. I didn't have him in my top 15 either. Oof. But
a lot of people sleep on him.
That doesn't say that's not to say that I don't think he's really good. The thing that, and I guess we'll end it on the positives. But the thing that gave me pause again was that he pretty much has chronic injury, and we didn't necessarily factor in injury like Kevin Durant's not on this list because he's not going to be here this season. But if you look back, he's regularly missing games at the end of the season when you need to make that playoff push. And the Pistons aren't going to be a surefire lock for a top 5 seed. They very could be, but it's not a lock.
I think they'll make the playoffs, but
they could be fighting for it. And so I want to factor that in to how successful I think he'll be this season. And so when I factor that in, I think there are players that are going to be more impactful to definitely get their team into the playoffs. And I hope that his health doesn't hinder that, but that's what made me rank him a little lower than some of the others.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the chronic injury piece. So I watched a little bit of an interview that he had a few months ago, and he talked about how it's funny that you talked about how Jalen Rose paid $5,000 to stay in shape. He didn't do anything like that, but he completely revamped his workout routine, his regimen. The way he takes care of his body, he's just really on purpose about that, and that's also why he developed the jump shot
game.
Yeah, so that it would be a little less strain on his body, and he's efficient at it. So
bro, all those explosive dunks over the years.
It's possible that he gets even better from here. I think he needs a little bit more help from his guards, just so that people will sag off him a little bit more, and then he can become a real long range threat. And you're gonna be thinking, shoot, this is what I want my stretch four to look like. Super athletic. And
he can pass too.
Yep.
Yeah, he can do it all. Yeah, part of the reason why you saw such a huge improvement from him is the last offseason was the first offseason he's had in a while where he was healthy.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to see him improve on his shot and his skills and stuff.
Hopefully he's going, man, because Blake Griffin's a lot. He is fun to watch.
I want him to get some more help in Detroit.
I want him to hop on an underwater treadmill and keep the weight off his knees.
He doesn't have to be a big defender because you have like one of the best
defensive
at
bigs,
the rim bigs, and he doesn't have to rebound as much as he did in LA. But we'll see what happens going forward. At number 13, we have Kyrie Irving. A lot of people might be surprised to see Kyrie Irving this low. I know at least some people I've talked to are very high on Kyrie Irving. Why did you guys put him where you put him?
Sort of a similar thing, not with the durability per se, but just how volatile. He's obviously got a career peak highlight for anyone. The 40-point game he put up with LeBron James as well, and that shot to seal the 2016 finals. But just the volatility of the shot selection and how it seemed to have tunnel vision at points. And we just talked about different reasons why that could have been in Boston. It could have been that, could have been something else. But realizing. It's gonna be his team again. So if someone else is hot on the Brooklyn Nets, if it's Dinwiddie or Rondae Hollis Jefferson, Is it going to continue? Is it going to go that way for the team? Is he going to know when to pass it? If he doesn't respect those guys as much as he respects Kevin Durant, or is it going to be he will pass it or he won't and just shoot even when he doesn't have it going because he's supposed to be the leader? Yeah. And that's what kind of gave me again some hesitation. But I did rank him on my top 15. So
cool. Andre, where'd you have him? You had him at
all right. So
13?
I had Kyrie at 13, Kemba at 14, and I think they're both very similarly skilled players. I think Kyrie's definitely going to be a little bit stronger on the scoring side, whereas Kemba is going to be a little bit better facilitation-wise and a little bit better culture-wise, I feel, for a team. Even though I think Kyrie, he obviously scoring's really important, especially for guards in the league right now. And that's why I feel like his impact on the game is a little bit higher than Kemba's, especially due to the success he's had. But I have him at 13 just because him by himself, I don't think is as conducive to winning as the 12 players I have ahead of him.
So I'll go off of that. I have him a little higher than you guys. I had him at 11, and the only thing that kept him out of my top 10 is I have to knock him down based on recency and the way that the Celtics and he underperformed. And granted, you can talk about the youth and why that was so hard for him and everything that happened, but at the end of the day, a leader leads, right, and can take his team to the next level, and he didn't do that. But I will quote LeBron James and say that he has the potential. He said this. LeBron James said this, I think, last week. He had the potential to be MVP, and I agree with that. I agree with the fact that he is talented. I've never seen anybody with better handles. People can argue that. They can say
subjective, yeah.
Jason Williams or anybody you can name with great handles, Allen Iverson. But I'll go with Kyrie each and every time, and the clutch factor is there.
Yeah.
So that's what you need from a star. Somebody who can take that clutch shot, who can control the ball and control the tempo, of the entire game, but he just needs to get over that me kind of mentality that he seems to have, and he can really grow. And I think he could be an MVP, guys.
He has the talent. He does,
especially in the East, dude.
Yeah. I mean, he was in talks in the previous season, the year before last, before he went down.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what keeps me out of top 10, though.
It's the mentality that keeps him away.
At number 12, we have Jimothy Butler. We have Jimmy Buckets. I personally had Jimmy Butler right at 15, so I do believe he's top 15, but I think those two guards that we talked about, earlier I said I had Kemba 15. Kemba was actually my 16th. We had to kind of break a tie, guys, to find number 15. But I had Jimmy Buckets at number 15 just because I feel like he doesn't have as much of an impact on the game as Kyrie, as Blake Griffin, or as Kemba Walker. I don't feel like he can... There's been moments of brilliance where it's like he can take over a game, but I haven't really seen anything to wow me since Chicago, personally.
I don't know, man. I was pretty wowed by going into Philadelphia with a team with two unabashed alpha dogs Jimmy
he's a good
Butler.
teammate.
I'm saying a team with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, who both are give me the ball, and he's like, hey, it's me, this is my team. I'm running this offense at the end of the game. Ben, you go somewhere, I don't care where, but not here. Yeah. This is me.
Get away.
Go to the dunker spot and making some shots. He's not the most efficient player, but he's a very, 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 very well-rounded player, kind of a jack of all trades, can do kind of everything, isn't afraid to take the shot, can defend very well, puts up great effort, and really inspires his teammates. I think if you ask anybody on the Sixers, they'd want him back.
No, for sure.
So that's kind of what kind of puts me there, and I think he's found a great fit for himself in Miami. I think he'll be very successful, and that they're going to be pretty much a trade away from being that fourth best team or even third best team in the East. So I'm really high on him. I think how he's so well rounded. He doesn't get brought up as much in the two-way player conversation, but just not being afraid of the moment, being an alpha dog, and being good at everything put him at, for me personally, I put him 11 on my list.
Yeah, I mean, I know I don't doubt. I mean, I know he's an alpha dog. I love his will to win, but I guess the efficiency is where he kind of loses me because I'm like, there's a lot of other guys that I'd rather on this list that I'd rather have closing out a game than Jimmy Butler. So that's why I put him there. He's still top 15. That's still amazing.
Yeah, and he's not top 5 guys I'd want to close the team game out with.
He's not a bad option.
Not a bad option for sure. And you got to look kind of at what kind of layout he had previously with Andrew Wiggins, taking shots from him on the Timberwolves, and then the kind of logjam of offense that they had. As many talented players, but that Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons with mouths to feed. I think with the more clear hierarchy, and now that he's more well-rounded and more storied in his career, I think he's going to have a very successful year in Miami, especially with guys that work as hard as he does. Yes, that's what he always wants, right? People to work as hard as him.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be really great. And one little, I guess, side tidbit before we get to the tidbits later. I heard on a podcast today that in an interview with Josh Richardson from the Heat, who just got traded to the Sixers, that sometimes you can read a Miami Heat board that says, wear pads today, because they're going to go so hard in practice that you need full pads.
Wow.
Like pads on every sleeve. Put the pads on there.
They're like
They're like the anti-Warriors that don't practice, or the Rockets that don't practice.
I was gonna say load management because they go hard in practice.
Yeah. But
No.
yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy at 12, right?
Yeah, I had Jimmy at 12. Like you said, you noticed that he didn't really seem like a type of player who could take over a game and stuff like that. But I feel like him going to the
Not necessarily
Sixers.
take over a game, but impact the game the way the others do. Because I feel like the other ones could just kind of exude their will a little bit more. And then at the end of a game, I'd rather have them taking the shot. So,
And that's
kinda how I look
fair.
at it.
But I think Jimmy, he did that a lot on the Sixers. He didn't do it for the majority of the game. He usually did it right at the end. Because when you have options like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid who are going to get theirs, especially Joel, he's going to get his whenever he wants. Having a guy like Jimmy, like with that amount of skill, like Richard touched on that, he can do a little bit of everything. Having a player of that caliber at the end of the game is really good. And I feel like being on the Heat will give him the opportunity to shine. And you'll see a little bit more of that you see in Kyrie and everyone else.
I think he was definitely a very good fit for Philly.
Yeah,
'Cause you
I think
need
he was too, but it's just
he gave you a different look than the other two, because Ben, obviously, we know about his struggles on the outside, and then Joel Embiid's just great, but you need a different look every now and then.
I think, man, if Ben Simmons could shoot and they
He'd
kept
probably be
Jimmy,
on my
they
list.
would be really good.
He's the archetype for being like the best player in the league. If he could shoot from anywhere.
If he could just shoot a little, and then they had Jimmy too, that would have been really nice. Yeah. But it is what it is.
Yep. So at number 11, we have Russell Westbrook.
Go ahead, JV.
So I put Russell Westbrook there for the same reasons as Jimmy Butler, the efficiency. And granted, Jimmy Butler's a little bit more efficient, but I just right there to kind of break the tie for me and those two. And I had Russell Westbrook right at 10, so a little bit higher than our average. But I put him above Jimmy Butler and above the other guards because of the sheer talent. I feel like the situation he's going into is really going to force him to play a smarter type of basketball for himself. He's not going to go 1,000. I've always talked about him going 100 miles an hour, right? And he wants to slam it down. That's going to – you still want him to do that, because if you guys watched the playoffs last year, the Warriors would just remove like any kind of Clint Capella threat in the paint, because they would just like they body him. But you can't do that when you have Russell Westbrook, because if you do that, if you bring the extra help on Capella, Russell Westbrook's gonna slam it. Yeah, he's gonna break to the hole, and nobody's gonna catch him. Nobody's faster than that guy. I can't think of anybody who's faster than him.
Yeah,
but so now in this situation, I feel like he's gonna elevate it, and he can still average a double, and it could be like a double with like 10 points a game, and that's like perfect for a team that has James Harden on it. So I think hopefully he's not going to go as low as 10. He'll probably be like 15 to 20. Right. But dude, if he does that with a higher efficiency, man, he could possibly be like, all NBA first team and not even be the best player on his team.
Yeah, like those dump offs, like you're saying, to Clint Capella, like it's different. James Harden is excellent at threading the ball through like multiple guys to get to Clint Capella, even dropping it downward. But he's not necessarily dropping it, James Harden, downward to Clint Capella. It's not a drop off vertically, because James Harden doesn't always explode to the rim. Yeah. Russell Westbrook is exploding to the rim. Yep. He's gonna draw the help physically, jumping at you, and he's gonna drop it.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, vertically
to Capella.
Yeah. As long as he can get his body under control, and I hope that he can do that.
So he might actually increase his assist total and still have a triple double.
It's possible.
Yeah. I'm telling you, he might make NBA first team and not even be the best player on his team.
I don't know if it'll increase the assist total, because they're going to cannibalize each other a little bit, I believe. I hope they do run the Jekyll and Hyde kind of system that I'm thinking that they might.
I get more and more excited about this team every day.
Yeah. It sounded kind of iffy when I first heard about it, but now that I'm really thinking about it and I'm looking at the additions they're making, it's like, this is about to be. Yeah. They're about to be good.
Dude, they have two guys they can lob to. We forget that Tyson Chandler is the bench center.
Yeah, give him 12 minutes a game. You know, that'd be great. Then
did they keep House? Daniel House?
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay.
So we all had Russell Westbrook right around the same 10, 11, 13.
I had him at 13. A little lower, but still top 15, guys.
Yeah, this is still the best top 15 players. Is there any reason why you put him a little bit lower than, let's say, a Jimmy Butler?
The efficiency, like you were saying, and just the sort of, like, not the opposite of deer in the headlights. Like a deer in the headlights pauses because they don't know what to do. But more like he's the only one that moves around because he feels like he's the only one that has something that he can do.
Well,
he's
real fixated on what he wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. Tunnel vision is what I meant to say.
go.
But yeah, so just the tunnel vision. I think that with having another player that he can respect, kind of like he respected Paul George in OKC, I think he can definitely improve. But just the track record of kind of getting in his own head, especially about those free throws, like shooting less at the rim because he didn't want to shoot free throws, really kind of puts me off a little bit, despite all his strengths. So that's kind of why.
Well, we talked about why he got worse at that routine. I didn't know that. That was nice.
That's a theory, you know. But
it might be. I mean, these guys spend
Ever since the rule change just went down.
Yeah.
So.
If anybody knows what we're talking about, he can't walk away from the free throw line anymore. So that used to be his routine.
Yeah, all his routines have changed. Now he's on the Rockets. There's no routines now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
no dancing partner, maybe.
Yeah.
Speaking of Paul George, you're touching on Paul George. That is our number 10 ranked player, Paul George. So Russell Westbrook's ex-teammate in OKC. Obviously, the big trade during the offseason. They paid, 5 picks for him?
Yeah,
a bunch of stuff.
It was like 5 picks for him.
This podcast
it was like 3 picks, 2 pick swaps.
Yeah, so I was watching a Doc Rivers interview, and they asked him they were talking about what did that day look like or that week look like, and he's like, I mean, I was talking to so apparently. For what people got from it is that OKC knew that they wanted to move Paul George, even though everybody acted like
they were blindsided.
What is he doing? Why is he trying to get traded? But in reality, the Clippers, because you got to think about it like this: the Clippers don't go pitch to Kawhi. Kawhi said they gave Kawhi a list. They said these are the guys we can get realistically, and Kawhi said, "I want Paul George." So why is Paul George on the list unless the Clippers have already been contacted and told, hey, this guy's up for trade. So that's BS that they didn't know. But second of all, the funny part I like about the interview is they're like, Jerry West was like, we're trading 5 picks for Paul George. And Doc's like, no, we're trading 5 picks for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
So that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah, and so it's very true, right? But still, I think just Kawhi Leonard's holding him in that high esteem kind of adds to a little bit to his value, right?
Yeah.
I think he's definitely a top 10 player. I think we got him right on the spot because I think 10 is where he should be.
He had a really good season last season.
I put him a little bit lower at 13, but now, kind of looking at the list the second time, I think
he was the MVP candidate before he got injured.
Borderline top 10.
Yeah, I had him at 8. I'm obviously really high on him. I love guys that can do everything on the court.
I knew you were going to say you like the defense, right?
Yeah, I know. I love it. I have Rudy Gobert on my list, who was not on this list. Spoiler alert, because I love defense so much. But like Paul George, MVP candidate, demands the respect of other players. Russell Westbrook, like I was saying, can shoot it. Not the best, clutch record, but that's what Kawhi Leonard is for. Kawhi Leonard is extremely clutch. Can defend with the best of them. And he's already kind of coming back into form, sort of. He's going through training camp, non-contact drills, but he is drilling. So his shoulders are recovering, and I think he's just all around really, really great. So
yeah, I mean, he was an MVP candidate last season, Defensive Player of the Year candidate last season. Was looking really good into the shoulder injury. So I mean, it's hard to not have him at top 10.
And being willing to play through something like that, like that speaks to his toughness.
Yeah, that did push down a little bit for me, just because in the playoffs, and obviously Russell Westbrook was part of that too. But it kind of, I don't know. I guess it was the interview where they asked him about the Damian Lillard shot. He's like, it's not a good shot. Kind of was something like, come on, dude.
Yeah, we've all been in competition.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of being competitive.
Yeah, but also the shoulders. We don't know what to expect, or how much that's going to affect them, and that's why I put him. I put him at 13, but anywhere from 10 to 14 would have been a really good spot for him. At number 9, we have. I'm actually surprised I put him, because I put him a little bit higher than this, but Damian Lillard at number 9. I had him at number 8. So that just talks about the strength of the league right now when you have a guy like Damian Lillard at number 8. What made you guys put him there, other than the obvious talent before him?
I had him at 10th. I had him and 10th is in high esteem for me. I love how he's such a culture setter. He's not afraid to take the shot, like we were talking about with Paul George. Has 2 series or franchise defining historic shots. Not afraid. Wears the brunt, takes the brunt of the blame for his team when he loses. When they got bodied by the New Orleans Pelicans, and he was saying, I've never seen defense like that before. We got to commend them for the way that they were defending him. Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis kind of swarming him everywhere. But being able to shoot from anywhere on the floor, being a threat from everywhere, being so well balanced when cutting through the lane, still being fast and deceptively explosive. He's not at the tail end of his prime just yet. He's got a couple of years to go. So who's to say that the percentages don't stay going up making the most of what some, myself included, are skeptical of with this team going into the season with Hassan Whiteside. He can get the best out of his players off the court and on the court too. So if he can bring that level of play up for the whole team, I'm really, really high on him. I think he's so well balanced, so well rounded. I'm just up, and he can rap. Like, it's all good.
I think.
Go ahead, Andre.
Just
what did you have
I had him. Yeah, so I had him at 9.
Okay.
And it was hard. 8 to 10. I kind of want to put him a little bit higher, but dang man, he just does everything so well. Such a smart player, efficient shooter. Knows when to get the team involved and does it well, and then knows when he needs to take over a game to get the win. Pretty much, he's everything you can ask for from a point guard. The only thing I could really knock him on is defense, but I mean, he for his height and everything, he does what he can.
Yeah, when CJ McCollum went down last season, like his assists went up, his shots didn't go up like jacked up a crazy amount, up 25% usage.
So he can make it happen.
Yeah, he can make it happen in whatever way he sees fit. The knock for me to keeping him a little bit lower was how he did seem to be kind of gassed when it went to the second round after he went through that first round
carrying, man.
Against OKC. I mean, carrying a guy stepped up in every facet of it. So
he's right about that. So even though he's hurt, the team led like every game, and he's just like, it sucks that he was hurt because you can't really say it's on him, but like that kind of puts guys in like top 3 and stuff like that is those performances in moments like that.
Well, what I look forward to this season and why I haven't rated in the top 10 is that I think he's going to take that approach, the smart approach to this season, and not be part of the load management program, but go into the season with the expectation that he's going to go to the finals and kind of pace himself with that in mind, not having a lofty goal of getting to the Western Conference Finals. I expect him to prepare for a long postseason run, so kind of like LeBron does.
Do you think just like maybe playing less minutes per game?
It could be, yeah.
Maybe.
Well, you got to think about, look at that playoff run he went. He had a lot of game 7s. They had triple overtime games in Denver. They played a lot of games.
I'm not insulting him when I say he got tired. Like, he's a human.
Yeah. I think you got to look at it this way. This time last year, if you're looking at Damian Lillard, a lot of people would maybe argue that he's a top 3 guard. I only have one guard ahead of him. Now you could even argue.
It's obvious he's number 2.
You could even argue. Yeah, it's obvious he's number 2. And you could even slightly make a case for number 1, just depending on where, because I think we all know who the other guard is. But let's see what they each do this season, especially now that the other guard is in a very different. We'll talk about him because he's literally the next person on here. What? But when I think about Damian Lillard, you gotta look at our list, not your list.
This is your list.
Yeah,
my list has been the list.
You're missing something. Oh, this is on my list. I'm sorry. Anyway, but when I think about Damian Lillard, just to summarize, I think about the ideal ISO player. Like ISO the way it's supposed to be, because he shoots so efficiently from deep.
What about Jimbo?
Nah, he's still. I think he's like, for me, he's what I want an ISO player to look like. James Harden has a mean step back, but like, I don't know, man. With Damian Lillard, I'm just like,
are you?
I guess I'm more scared of him.
You're putting James Harden in that guard group where Damian Lillard's ahead of him. I don't think he's ahead of James Harden.
Oh, I was thinking point guard.
Yeah, I thought you were thinking that too. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, you're saying.
But just like when the ball is in Damian Lillard's hand, I just feel like he can beat you in a few more ways.
He definitely, James Harden has several ways, but he's not necessarily always going to get past you or explode above you. Yeah. He's going to use his strength to maneuver his body to the best way that he can and be strong enough to get that to happen. Yeah. So I can see what you mean by that. Yeah.
But so that leads us to the next guard. This is the point guard I was talking about, I guess. The only point guard that I feel is better than. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong.
You're looking at the wrong. I was about to say.
It's Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic. What rank is he?
He's number 8.
8. Yeah. Number 8, Nikola Jokic.
What you got, Andre?
I actually had him at number 8, and man, this is another one of those guys who can do everything. He's what, 7'2"?
He's so huge.
7'1", 7'2". He can one of the best passers in the league, like legit. Not just, he's easily the best center,
man.
Like literally one of the best passers in the league. Can shoot, play make. Just the only thing you can knock him for is his defense.
He's just a one-man offense that the other team has to account for. Like, how do you get used to having to cover these passing lanes when you pass it to this tall guy, where traditionally once the ball goes to a center or a power forward, they're looking for their own shot. Yeah. Where he looks for his own shot, he can back you down. He can run a little pick and roll. He can run pick and roll with Miles Plumlee. Yeah, Mason Plumlee, Miles Plumlee. He's done it before. And just look at his FIBA highlights, man. Those passes are insane. You don't know where they're coming from. Like his teammates are used to being on the lookout for the ball, no matter where no matter where they are, because he can deliver it wherever he wants to. Kind of like when Steve Nash went to the Lakers, like or Lonzo went to the Lakers too. put your head on the swivel because as long as you run, he's going to find you.
Yeah.
So I think that's so great.
Yeah.
And just being a way that you can zig when everyone else is zagging, where your offense is predicated around that offensive center, goes a long way and speaks to how good he is and how talented he is.
Yeah, I think he doesn't get enough credit because he doesn't look like the part
Yeah, he
of
doesn't
this
look like
athletic
NBA
He
star.
looks like me and you.
Yeah,
like
and-
7 feet tall.
But like you said, he's very unselfish, very smart, quiet guy that you don't hear a whole lot about.
but
Even
so
if-
competitive.
yeah,
Yeah,
super
he's-
competitive, wants to win, and we saw that in that triple overtime. Like he can get fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep
I'm
me in,
playing
coach.
all
I'm
the
gonna
minutes,
play.
baby. Like
And
Joel Embiid says, I
they
don't.
kept calling his number too. Like he's like striking, and they're just like, give me the ball on the post. And I'm gonna try to body somebody, even though I'm like on one stamina.
Yeah.
Like,
Kill him.
It was ridiculous.
Joel Embiid had an interview yesterday with Zach Lowe and was talking about how he doesn't talk crap to
Jokic.
the
He doesn't talk crap.
Yeah, because Jokic doesn't talk crap. He's just there to work hard, do what he's got to do. So yeah,
Mutual
that
respect.
workers mentality.
Love that dude, man.
Speaking of Joel Embiid,
I think we have him next because I had them back to back.
so at
I had
number
Joel ahead of him.
Yeah, so at number 7 we have Joel Embiid. So another center in Joel Embiid. I think he has a lot of the similar attributes that Jokic has. Probably not as good of a passer as Jokic,
Yeah,
but
Not as good a passer.
what he
not as
brings
good a
on
shooter.
defense
Is insane.
is ridiculous.
so many shots altered. Like it's just imagine like you're looking at an airport runway and it's going towards the basket.
Yeah.
And how many planes he diverts away from the runway. Like,
Get out of the
go
way.
It's a no-fly zone.
Pass the ball back outside. Like he's just everywhere. Like it's so crazy. Like even on a fast break situation against the Heat, like I can see. I think Dwayne Wade was still playing. It was during this past offseason, his final season, where they're going on a fast break down the court, and like Joel's chugging along, getting down, chasing Josh Richardson, something like that. They pass the ball backwards to the trailer to try to dunk, and Joel Embiid's able to turn on a swivel, stop, get up, and like block the shot or alter it. Like that guy's crazy. Even though he doesn't seem to be like super in shape, just kind of like Nikola Jokic, he reportedly lost some weight this offseason. So I'm excited for what's to come. I think that speaking to this season's success, which is what we ranked this list on, like I think they're really going to be able to make that hodgepodge of tall, lengthy, shooting capable dudes like really, really work. So I'm really excited for him to be the linchpin of the offense. And the defense. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about him. And he's cool and talks a lot of shit.
Yeah,
Like-
I'll compare.
Actually, he said he's not going to talk no more
I'll
shit.
compare him here in a bit when we get to the next name, which a lot of people hold in high regard. And if you compare their stats, and I don't know if you guys mind if I go ahead and say the next name.
AD.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's AD, right?
Yeah.
It's another center forward hybrid.
Can we call him the brow?
The
Like,
brow.
AD is so lame.
So the brow, right? Anthony Davis.
Let's
Yeah.
blame the
So a lot of
the
people, for a lot of years considered Anthony Davis, if not the best, one of the maybe two,
The most
three
talented
best players.
is what people always
Yeah,
say.
I mean Anthony Davis just last year 29, 12, and 4. Well, Joel Embiid's giving you 27, 14, and 4. So I think the only place where they're both very capable of being like defensive player of the years. They play very strong defense. The only thing that puts Anthony Davis a little bit higher is the fact that he is very efficient from the perimeter. He shoots in the mid to high 30s, and he's never swayed from there. He's never shot less than like 44% from the field any season. And he does it on very few shots. We talked about that. He positive those. He's like one of the most efficient players. That's what makes me put Anthony Davis where I put him. We in a consensus put him at 5, but I had him as number 2. I think he's the second best player, or he's going to be the second best player in the league this year.
Where did you have him, Andre?
I had AD. I believe I had him at 6.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think with Anthony Davis being able to do what he does, we talked about kind of the similarities between Joel Embiid, but his efficiency just being that great. Having LeBron next to him, and they talked about it today. They interviewed, I think it was Frank Vogel or somebody, and they talked about it, that the offense is going to run through Anthony Davis. So if the offense is running through Anthony Davis and you have the ultimate facilitator on LeBron James, that's a recipe for him being the best player in the league.
Yeah.
The only reason I put him at number 2, and I'll talk about who my number 1 is when we get to it, but AD is just, I have to see it, right? Because he has kind of had some injury issues and stuff like that. If he can have a full season, go deep in the playoffs, have that success, because he hasn't gotten out of the second round.
Yeah.
If he can get to the Western Conference Finals, even, I think that's a successful season. Everybody's going to tell you that if the Lakers don't win the title, it's bust, right? But realistically, they're a brand new ass team. We've seen LeBron teams struggle year one.
They're brand new and their
And-
roster's not loaded.
And the West is loaded.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the only reason I put him number 2. But I think Anthony Davis can be the best player in the league. And at his age, dude, he's got
He's
a
what,
lot.
25,
Like, he's
26?
going to be the future of the Lakers. And so we're never going to hear the end of him. So we might as well get used to calling him the best player in the world, guys.
He definitely can.
It's
be.
not quite there yet.
That's for sure. And like to speak to your injury issues, like someone's gonna mail in and be like, "Oh, you average 67 games a year every year." But Google Anthony Davis leaves the game early with a wrist, blah 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 blah. He's left so many games early. He's gonna need some coddling. Like that's why they got some centers to play the 5. Dwight Howard, the renowned JaVale McGee to soak up those minutes. But when the time comes, he's able to play the 5. He's able to stretch the floor and be a nightmare for the opposing center, shoot from 3, and be athletic enough to get it all the way to the rim and dunk all over anybody, even if he looks a little bit frail.
Yeah.
Like reports are coming out of training camp saying that he put on 20 pounds of muscle, but he doesn't need it. He can dominate in so many other ways, shooting from inside, the mid-range, and the outside. So he's a complete offensive player and can defend too.
Yeah, and I know I've given him a little heat here, and probably some other people too, when he says he'd rather play power forward. But I think that's just him being smart. It's not a secret as to why he was healthy going into the playoffs the year he had Boogie there, because he didn't have.
You
to
don't want
play
to have to
that
bang
role.
up and get beat up with the centers. Yeah.
So that, and I don't know, he doesn't have the best centers next to him, but I think they're competent. This takes me to another name. The Lakers would have been smart to, and they probably didn't have enough money, but Kevon Looney would have been like the perfect center for Anthony
Yeah, I'm
Davis,
surprised that the Warriors got him for so cheap
he
too.
Likes him.
He
He likes being there.
They said
That's all it
you
is.
took a chance on me. I'm going to reward you guys.
Exactly. But that would have been like, whew, that would have been like the
would've-
perfect center in my opinion.
Dwayne
That's the perfect
Dedman
center.
too from the Hawks.
Yeah,
Good defensive center.
But AD, man, look out for him. I'm like, I don't think they'll win a championship this year, but that's okay. They're going to be set up for the next 5 to 10 years with Anthony Davis.
They got a good future ahead of them.
And I was never super high on him, but
It's because he played in New Orleans. Like so this is the year that he's going to be like media darling, super cool.
yeah,
like,
people are going to start saying all the right things.
Everyone's going to think he's suddenly going to get way cooler.
Yeah, because
now
he's in Space
LA.
Jam and all that stuff.
He's not that cool in my opinion. But it's not because of New Orleans. It's because he was not that cool. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, he's still going to be the second fiddle for a while.
Yeah.
Next we had on the list.
Oh, this is going to be controversial.
Who did you have at number 5? What does the list say?
We're at 4 now.
Oh, are we on 4?
We're at 5.
Oh, we're at
You're
5.
on 5,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
Number 5 is Mr. Steph Curry, Mr. Stephen Curry. I actually had Steph Curry at 7.
I had Steph Curry at 4.
I had him at 3.
3. So 7, 4, and 3. So a little bit of disparity there. He is my highest rated point guard. Everybody will talk about James Harden's point guard, et cetera, whatever. I'll still call him a shooting guard. But the reason I put Steph Curry there is because I just feel like the other guys, we've seen them be in situations as of late where they are the go-to, the best player on their team, the only option in some cases. And Steph Curry, it's been a while since we've seen him. And we've seen spurts, right? I talked about it, like the number of shots he takes without Kevin Durant goes up like 6. The number of shots without Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson goes up like 12, and he shoots it at the same efficiency. So I could see him averaging 35 points plus a game this year.
He's going to go fucking nuts this year.
Exactly.
He might
but
be.
until I see that, because I do believe in recency, not bias, but I do believe in kind of looking at what have you done lately. I just wonder if he's going to be able to assimilate, I guess, or fill the role of, hey, I don't have Klay Thompson to kind of pull people off of me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have Kevin Durant that when I'm having a bad night, I can kind of hide, you know? And the last time we saw him in the finals without Kevin Durant, he's turned the ball over and only scoring 5 points in the fourth quarter. So I'm going to use that as the last time I've seen Steph Curry kind of have to be the superhero. So
yeah, all the positives in the world ring true. You know, how efficient he is, how many shots he can get up, how good his handle is, how his just being on the court pulls people away from their defenders, just like opening things up for everybody else. But, you know, a lot of his team success and his eventual success, no matter what his numbers put up, and he's probably going to put up a good MVP case, is going to hinge on players like D'Angelo Russell, or what D'Angelo Russell turns into in a trade, so that other players can benefit from him. Because what's the point of having a lot of gravity if your team can't capitalize on that? You know, we're thinking about how successful their season will be, and if Klay Thompson comes out swinging in April, May, and they end up flaming out in the second round, that's going to be a disappointment for them, even if they're like a 6 or 7
all
seed.
eyes will be on Steph at that point.
Exactly.
And rightly so, I feel like, at that point.
Yeah, so super great, super efficient. Like, his numbers are out of this world. He's a player that is inspiring generations ahead of him for years to come. I just wonder, like, it is possible to defend and game plan against him. Yeah. So what's going to happen when he's not loaded with superstars? What if Draymond Green can't suddenly shoot as highly regarded as I have him?
And he'll always kind of be thought of as not the best finals performer or even playoff performer. I mean, he doesn't have a finals MVP. You can talk about who deserved it, blah, blah, blah. But he's only got one championship without KD. And some people would argue that they might have lost the other one. It had Kyrie and Kevin Love. I don't want to talk about that. But I think he'll, like I said a few podcasts ago, I think he'll deserve the MVP this year because he is going to go nuts, but he's not going to win it because his team is not going to win enough games. Andre?
You don't think so?
Nah, they're not going to win enough games. They're going to be like a 6 seed.
See, I used to think that, but I don't know. I think they might have a chance to place top 4 this season. But, I mean, Steph, he is the system in Golden State. He does very well in the regular season just because they don't call as many fouls. They're not – or they will call more fouls than they do in the playoffs. They literally let you get away with a little bit more in the playoffs. But I think that'll help him in the regular season. If D'Angelo Russell can, hit the shots and they click well, I think they'll do really well. But Steph by himself, best shooter, the best guard finishing at the rim in the league. Pretty much he can do it all. It's just not what it is on defense. And I feel like his resume speaks for itself.
See,
just like efficiency.
That's where and just gonna be completely honest, that's what I don't like when people are ranking players. The resume is the resume. That's what they've done. Mm-hmm. We're talking about right now.
Well, he had
with what we've seen.
His numbers last season were better than his MVP season, but he didn't win it just because. That's why
a lot of people argue he shouldn't have won it. But
I feel like he'll have another MVP level season this season.
I guess I go off of what Richard was saying when he gets to the second round of the playoffs and they flame out. That happened the last few times that they relied on. He's not clutch in the playoffs, and yes, he might have an MVP season. I've even said that, but that's why I put these other guys that we're about to talk about.
Well, are you talking not this playoffs? Because his numbers are still really well in this playoffs. It's just
he exploded in Game 7 or Game 6 against.
You got to go back to 2016 to say,
but still lost.
You can still think of moments where
that's fine. But the past 3 years, he's had good. And obviously too. You can discredit because of KD.
I won't discredit it because they're still champions. But
they beat the Rockets soundly. They beat Portland soundly. It's pretty well.
Yeah, but look at the Raptors series. Kevin Durant came out, shot the lights out, and they ended up scraping away with a win. But he didn't carry them to a victory against a Raptors team that they could have beaten even with the injuries that they had.
Yeah, so he missed that last shot. They lost Clay the second half of. That was Game 6, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Game 6.
And
then he put up 47 by himself. Is pretty much the only option.
Yeah,
on good efficiency too.
Yeah, and that's why I put the other guys because I feel like if they give you those numbers, you're probably gonna win.
Yeah.
Who do we have next at number 4?
We got James Harden. The guy that is number 2 in MVP every year.
So where did you have him?
Every year.
I have him personally at 5. I had him behind Steph Curry. Yeah. So I'm not here to say that I'm just a blind Steph Curry hater. I think James Harden has so many strengths. I was talking about it earlier in the episode. Literally how strong he is. He can shoot from anywhere on the floor. Everyone calls him the hardest player to guard. Has a tight handle. Is inventing new moves that we've never seen before. And blending the refs' minds to think whatever he wants, whatever he wants them to think. Mind control. But yeah. And so just the resume of playoff. He had good numbers in this season. He's got some nightmare performances against the Spurs, wherein Manu Ginobili blocked him from behind. Kawhi Leonard kind of ate his lunch and went on forward. And I think with this year's team being crafted even more so the way that he wants it to be, I think he's set up for a lot of success. And his strengths speak for themselves. His MVP and MVP runner-up speak for themselves. His streak of 35 plus points in 16 straight games, or I'm probably getting that number off a little bit this past season. Dragging his team from the 14th seed to the 4 seed, all speak for themselves. I just wonder if he can keep that consistency and that level of play going from January all the way until June. So I think he's set up for success. That's the question that I have, which is why I had him behind Steph Curry.
Where'd you have?
I have him at 4, right behind Steph. The hardest guard to guard, the hardest player to guard in the league, pretty much. The best ISO player, the most efficient, or one of the most efficient high volume 3-point shooters. The dude can do it all. Led a team to the NBA Western Conference Finals again. It's
no, they didn't make the Western Conference Finals this last year.
Yeah, Western Conference semifinals. But he's just hard to discredit him, man. He's just really good.
Yeah. So
he does it all.
So I put James Harden as the best player.
I want to give him one fault, and the reason why I didn't have him over Steph is he just doesn't get as involved off ball. So I feel like Steph contributes more to the offense when he doesn't have the ball, but James kind of just chills when he doesn't have the ball.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the main reason why.
And looking in towards this season, I think that's going to change. I think Russell Westbrook and James Harden are going to conspire to not be negatives when they don't have the ball for one another. So that's part of another reason why I have him so high at 5. But I want to know why JV has him so high. Number one.
Everything you guys talked about is obviously, probably the hardest player to guard. Probably the best ISO player, even though I kind of like Damian Lillard ISO play a little bit more, but he has that nasty step back. His defensive rating shot up. He can play defense. I hate hearing about how he can't play defense. That
his post defense is.
You obviously haven't watched the NBA in like 2 years. If you're still thinking that James Harden can't play defense, the bona fide leader of his team. Nobody dislikes him other than Chris Paul, but he's out of the picture.
Dude, and he's got like twice as many free throw attempts as the next highest guy.
Yeah.
That's not a knock. Like, you want that.
Exactly.
Name any guy on your own team. If he could get
the most
800 free throw attempts, you'd be like, sign me up, baby.
So if you look look across people's stats, what's their highest stat typically? Free throw percentage. So if you're getting a lot of free throws, guess what? You're playing smart basketball. I think with some of the stuff he talked about with him not being able to play off ball, it's fine because he's that good on ball. But his utilization should go down this coming year with Russell Westbrook, and I'm really excited for that tandem. I think Russell Westbrook will just open up more opportunities because despite Chris Paul being one of the best mid-range shooters in like the last decade, right? I think he has the highest mid-range percentage in like the last 10 years of any player. What Russell Westbrook athleticism brings, if he can be the facilitator that we hope his triple-double will indicate he is, it'll just make life easier on James Harden.
Yeah.
But he is the first player that I've ever heard people make an argument for being a better scorer than Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. So when you have a player like that, Michael Jordan wasn't great off ball. He didn't have to be because he was that damn good on ball. And when you have a guy like James Harden that is that damn good on ball and should be back-to-back MVP right now, he is the best player in the world. And that's why I had James Harden number 1.
You can definitely make the case. You just made the case. So we appreciate that.
Speaking of
MVP, we had at our third place vote, Giannis Antetokounmpo, somebody that I had ranked number 1. And just with his sheer, like, something you've never seen before. He dunked over a person last year. Like, Vince Carter did that in FIBA. You know?
Right.
Yeah, he dunked, I think it was Tim Hardaway Jr. he dunked over, and they put it on his shirt, and he was like, "No thanks, don't put that on his shirt. I don't want to be disrespectful or whatever."
Yeah,
like, so nice, but that's not the point. So he's nice. He's got a mean streak. He wants to win. I'm disappointed. He's disappointed by his early exit how he got ousted in last year's playoffs, going down 4 straight. Ridiculous. But besides that, he's not afraid to take the three-point shot, which is known to be his greatest weakness. So projecting onto this season, I think they're going to have another 60-win season despite the losses that they had with, with the guys that they Brogdon, and then signing Drew Bledsoe or Eric Bledsoe. Eric Bledsoe. Even though they signed him before he kind of fell off a cliff, I still kind of consider that a negative. They kept George Hill because he showed up in the playoffs. Despite this kind of mishmash and hodgepodge of guys that we don't know they're going to be better or not, I think the Bucks will have a more consistent result year over year because of Giannis, because how good he is, how dominating he is, and how he can do everything and is ready to improve year after year. So I think his handle's going to get even tighter and just be able to dominate. Like, who's going to stop that guy? It's like impossible unless you have like 4 giants on the team.
Where did you have him?
I had him at number 1.
You had him at number 1. Where did you?
I had him at number 3, which means that you had him somewhere below that.
I had him at number 5, and let me tell y'all why.
So. I just gotta say, Rich has been consistent because he picked him as. I think you feel like he's gonna be MVP next year.
I think he has a case to go back to back. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, he has a case, but there's different tiers for offense in the NBA. I feel like every player that I have above him has. You can't stop it. It's unstoppable offense, and I feel like Giannis has very good offense, but it's not unstoppable.
Well, you can.
It's brute force.
Yeah.
So like you pack the paint and you force him to take the jump shot or pass to the opponents. So, and that's kind of how they stopped him in the playoffs. But, like, everyone else I have above them, they're going to get their points no matter what. You can't stop them, or they're going to give it to someone else who's going to make you pay. But most of the times, they're going to get their points no matter what. You just can't stop them. That's why I have them below them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I was going to ask Richard, like, what does he say to the people? Because he has him at number 1. What does he say to the people? I can answer the question after I say what I say. But what do you see that makes you the naysayers that say, oh, well, he has no outside games. He just dunks on people. How's he going to do better? But before that, the reason I have him at number 3 is because he's currently the best player as an MVP. He was voted the best player, and I don't see how his dominance can't continue, and especially in a weaker East. And if he gets any better, like in his exterior game, he's gonna get that much better. But what do you say?
I was saying I expected to improve, and I think I mentioned that he's not afraid to take shots. He was taking shots in early spring, just taking the shots, even though they weren't high efficiency. Which is why I think taking those game reps, not just shooting in the gym or against trainers, I think he's gonna have a credible mid 30s percentage 3-point shot, which is something that you have to guard in this NBA. And so as soon as you respect him, you have to throw one guy at him. He's long enough to just take one long ass step around you.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Just be in the lane.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That's all you gotta do.
If he pumps you and
it's done.
And you
that's
commit
2 points.
a little bit, like he's gonna.
I said Ben Simmons is like off-brand Giannis Antetokounmpo. Well, he's on-brand Giannis Antetokounmpo, bro. Like that's what he is. So
yeah, this is what you hope Ben Simmons turns into.
That's what I have him as. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So we're down to our last two. So if you guys can guess what these last two names are, but who do we have as the second best player in the NBA?
I'm
asking
you. I had Kawhi.
We had the famous number 2, Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard rounds out at number 2. So second best player in the league, Kawhi Leonard. What's your case for him, guys? Because I had him a little bit lower.
Some people have him at number 1, which I think like it's fair to have your opinion. I think that the thing that gives me pause about putting him at number 1 is honestly his health, his leg condition. They're not going to be giving him as much rest as they did in Toronto, trying to appease him and make sure he's as healthy as possible. They're going to let him play by ear and just kind of go by how he's feeling, but not be as aggressive with the sitting out game strategy. Maybe strengthening him by conditioning him more and playing more. But it is like considered to be, and I'm not a doctor, but a degenerative condition. So I wonder how that's going to hold up over a long season, going multiple years deep into the playoffs, hoping to play until June. But the reason to have him so high is that he's like a complete player. He's able to ISO. He's not afraid to take the shot. Like he's going to take as many shots as he needs to get his team to win and be efficient while he's at it. Our most popular tweet is how, like as a Shotcallers account, is how Kawhi Leonard's efficiency goes up during
the opposite of Steph Curry.
during the postseason, as opposed to all other players going downward. And I'll link that tweet in the show notes for some of our new listeners. But so just how he's not afraid of the moment, able to take pretty much any shot on the floor with good consistency, and like going back to the Spurs days, they ran like an egalitarian pass heavy offense, but they also ran a Kawhi Leonard get to your spot, muscle your guy around. Like he's a strong guy, just like James Harden's a strong guy. He can do anything on the court. He may not be quick and flashy while he does it, but he can do all that. He's an incredibly smart defender, even if he can't quite get to the spots that he used to when he was a younger man, which is why I have him at number 2, not at number 1. But that's the case for having him really high, if not at number 1.
Yeah, and I don't want to continue to beat the praises on Kawhi and everything. I had him at number 2 too, but the one thing I will fault him for, just ignoring health, is playmaking. So he's a really good scorer, can punish you from anywhere on the court, but he does kind of have tunnel vision. So when you give him the ball, he's probably going to shoot it up. And I wish he'd be a little bit better at getting his teammates involved. But like at everything else, he's just so good.
It's kind of like a basic pass. Like, all right, Kawhi Leonard's about to create, pass right to Andre, as opposed to like you see other guys
draw the defender.
That or Luka,
crazy pass.
That Luka Doncic, LeBron James. Like we're looking at you, we're looking at the goal, and then there's the pass going over there to somebody nobody.
More like, and he actually gets caught in the air a lot. Have you noticed that? Like he'll go up and be like, whoa, and that you never want that, but.
What I think he does is he'll draw attention from one or multiple guys, and he'll start the chain of passes that go around the perimeter.
The hockey.
I think it's definitely a plus for him, but not as much of a plus as other players, like the guy we have ranked at number 1.
I just think he had a crazy run this last year, playoffs, and I just want to see him continue that before I'm willing to put him like number 1. And I put James Harden above him because he's a better scorer. We just talked about what Giannis can do, and I think Giannis's age is really what keeps him at the top, along with Anthony Davis. Because I think Anthony Davis, Giannis, Anthony Davis and Giannis are at an age where it's like, dude, we haven't even tapped into their potential. And then James Harden, like I said, I compared him to Michael Jordan, so I'm not putting somebody above him.
All right. Y'all ready for number 1?
So I think everybody, the listeners, should know who number 1 is.
You're
Andre, you want to tell them who?
All right. Number 1, LeBron. We all know. I had him at number 1.
You had him at.
I have him at number 5.
I had him at number 2, and I thought that it was a pretty big knock. We are ranking these guys on upcoming season success. I think he's gonna have a very successful season, but part of it is kind of what their resume is and how great they are. And the number one thing that keeps people ranking LeBron super highly is how he can carry your team to exactly where he needs to take you. Look at that clutch run for Boston, or against Boston, against Indiana, against any team that you face in that Eastern Conference.
The sweep of the
run.
Raptors.
Exactly. Like he does it.
The way he did it too.
He will drag everyone to the promised land, and he didn't do that last season. So I had to knock him. He is getting older. We don't know if he's going to improve year over year this year, or if he's going to have to be compensating for deficiencies that may increase due to injuries, due to age, this or that, declining athleticism. So he's still number 2, but that's why I didn't have, for me, that's why I didn't have it number 1. As great and transcendent and amazing as he is, as athletic and such a great facilitator, able to probably get Anthony Davis to an MVP by himself.
I'm going to let you close that because you picked them number 1.
Yeah.
So the reason I put LeBron at number 5 is a couple of things I talked about. A, the age. I talked about why I have Giannis and Anthony Davis so high, and even James Harden's a little bit younger. So that's number 1. Number 2 is LeBron has finally shown us that he's immortal. Not immortal. Immortal. Yeah. He's immortal. So we don't know. And I talked about another part 3, the recency, right? We know the resume. We know LeBron James has been the greatest player in the world for a long time now. But he's injured, and he didn't make the playoffs. Like, what do I need to base it off of other than 2 years ago? So I can't really do that. I want to see where he's at in the regular season, because the last time LeBron turned it on, they lost 13 out of their next 15 games.
Oh, yeah, with the
so
Lakers.
Playoff
LeBron,
mode activated. If that's playoff LeBron, what am I looking forward to now?
Right.
So I got to see it. So I got to knock him down because of that. You don't make a comment like that and get trashed, and I'm going to keep you at number 2.
Yeah.
I'm putting you down. I'm still giving you top 5 because you're great, right? But you were recently hurt. I haven't seen you in a while, and the last time that you were on.
So you're saying he could be anywhere on the list, but right now he's at 5.
He's at number 5 because I think he is one of the 5 best players.
You're saying he could be anywhere in that top 5. He could be anywhere.
Oh, yeah. But I put him at 5
right
because of those 2 things. The playoff LeBron and
so take us out on a high note, Andre.
So those are fair assessments, but, I mean, it's like I said, there's tiers of offense, and that's the guy who will give you everything, not just points, but generating points
clutch
through his teammates.
Threes, too. He didn't just do it
threes,
like
mid-range. He can do it in any way, getting his teammates involved, rebounding. And
so
now
smart.
I didn't knock him for their finishing last season, and I'm assuming he's healthy. Like, all this is assuming all the players are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And in assuming he's healthy, even if he was just as good as he was like a year or 2 ago, I think he's still like easily the best player.
And he's so damn smart, dude.
He hasn't. The only age he's shown was his defensive intensity and the growing injury.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like, he's just so good on offense that like you can ignore that.
He's smart enough to rest on the court.
He generates that many wins.
So I know there's some people that are going to disagree with me, but I think it's just coming to the realization and coming to gripping the reality that LeBron's getting older.
He is, but I want to see it. I gotta see it. It's like Rich said.
I mean, the injury is him being old.
It is one injury. Yeah, that's true. But I gotta see more. It's like Kawhi. You said Kawhi 1-1.
So people are going to say
if he continues it, then
they're going to say that he's earned the benefit of the doubt. And so that's fair.
For sure.
But if I see LeBron, continuously getting injured, continuing getting slower, if he can't get to the rim when he wants, stuff like that, I'll bring him down. But as he was, even last season. Say what?
So they got swept in the finals the year before that.
Yeah, but like, man, what's he gonna do?
But
what did he
do?
But what did he do? He still He almost averaged a triple double.
The Warriors didn't sweep nobody else in the Western Conference.
You can't.
Before we turn this into a Kobe versus LeBron debate or some rabbit hole like that.
Damn Clippers.
That's what the YouTube comments are.
The damn Clippers took 2 points.
YouTube comments is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's the end of our.
That's the end of that segment. We're gonna let us know if you think anybody's just way out of line.
Yeah, give us your top 15.
We'll post them on Twitter. We'll post everybody's.
Let us know where you rank Andrew Wiggins.
Ooh. We doing a top 200?
Yeah. Hell. But yeah, we'll post our rankings on Twitter, and then just let us know if you agree or disagree, or somebody just way out of line with their rankings. But that does it for our rankings. We're gonna move on to.
Get the.
It's a long episode.
Instead of a drum roll, give me the spirit fingers, guys.
Rich's
bits. Sorry, I got 2 bits this time, or tidbits. I got 2 tidbits this time. This one's kind of it's a question that I posed for y'all gearing up for the show. What is something that you guys, let me read it out verbatim how I typed it. What is something
that we're good at?
Yeah, something that you guys. Hang on, damn it.
It's not good at. I know that's it.
Yeah. What is something?
I'm not good at anything.
What have you ever?
Thanks a lot.
Gotten really great at without doing anything.
Really great at
to work towards it.
I know what I'm gonna say.
You don't even have to answer it because
eating food.
Oh wow,
eating food.
I was gonna say driving.
It was rhetorical because I read a tweet or a report how Joel Embiid lost 20 pounds and got in shape by doing nothing differently and changing nothing about his off-season routine and eating habits. I just lost 20 pounds.
Like the guys that can eat cheeseburgers and put on muscle.
Sounds like you got a tapeworm.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just something that really stuck out to me. I was like, man, you really got in shape by doing nothing extra. Yeah. I'll just sit on the couch like I always do.
Some people just have it all,
the pounds
man.
just come up. Yeah, man. Some people really do have it all. So that's something that really caught my eye this week. And then another thing is, it kind of harkens back to an earlier segment we had on the show talking about the G League, where, the G League changed their rule. They're experimenting with the one free throw for multiple points on the free throw attempts. JV and I are big fans of going to this event. Summer League a couple years ago reminded me of something else that I want them to try in the NBA, at least during the regular season. I think it would be super hype. In 2017, it was a game between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors. 2017, Summer League, Vegas, July 11th on a Tuesday. They were tied after one overtime, and they went to double overtime.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You do? And so instead of going to regular double and triple overtime like we've seen like in the NBA playoffs, they went to sudden death. It was first game win.
What?
Yeah,
exactly. Like that.
Yeah,
firing bombs.
I want
that.
And you can't win on a foul shot. So it was first.
Just hack somebody.
Yeah,
he's gonna score.
So probably So I guess you should get the ball back in that scenario. But yeah, it was just first game win.
That's what I would do.
So they won on like a pretty floater. You know what I mean? So just super hyped, just bombing threes. Like I wanted to just be like chaos going up and down the court. Fast break.
To quote Joel Embiid, nothing easy.
Zaza
Pachulia. There you go. Nothing easy.
So that's something that I want. I want fast break, just like
sudden death.
One time, me and a guy played one-on-one.
Half court shots.
Fuck it. Yeah,
just the barrage of half court shots that ever makes them.
They say
shootout.
Everybody says regular season don't matter, so just do it.
Remember knockout? You ever played knockout?
Yeah.
They should play knockout. For your three
Just
players.
take goaltending rules away and just let them go at it. Just throw the ball at it.
I think it should be full court one-on-one like I played in middle school. I played a guy full court one-on-one.
What is wrong with you?
It was training.
Doesn't even sound like
that
basketball.
sounds terrible.
just run, Rich.
Just run, yeah.
Just run. Why even have a ball out there?
So yeah, that's the end of Rich's Bits. Yeah.
If you have anything that you'd like Rich to cover on his next segment of Rich's
next
tidbits,
set of bits,
DM me personally.
You got some bits for Rich.
Yeah, DM it so that we don't. Richard, do you want to share where they can DM you directly?
Yeah, it can be on Twitter, Rich_SRK.
So Rich_SRK if you would like to send Rich one of your tidbits, and he might feature you on a future show.
We gotta sponsor this anyway. So that's the end of the episode, guys.
Yeah, that was a great episode. It was a long one, but I think we got a lot of good content. I know that people wanted to hear our rankings, so now there you go. Some of y'all might disagree and be like, I wish I hadn't asked for this. But now you know. If you guys disagree, like I said, let us know. I would like to see what your rankings are. Just throw it in there. Next time we tweet out when we tweet out this episode and you hear it, go back, quote the tweet, and then in that tweet, go ahead and give us your ranking.
Speaking of Twitter,
you might think Spencer Dinwiddie is in the top 15.
Yeah, whatever you say. So
how come Luka wasn't in the top 50?
Not yet.
You know what's funny? I didn't even slightly think about that yet. I think it's too soon.
I thought about him. He'd be in the top 20.
I think maybe
top 30 to 20, 30 to 20 somewhere.
25 for sure.
But yeah, speaking of Twitter and everything, please follow us at Shotcallers Show. Where else can they follow us, Andre, head of our social media?
They can follow us on @_Shotcallers. No,
Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Instagram, _Shotcallers.
_Shotcallers.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, all that.
Breaker, radio.com.
Yep.
Just search the Shotcallers and you will see our little emblem. It's down here. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's on the bottom right-hand corner. But it's the little blue and red basketball basket. Where else? Send us an email, shotcallershow@gmail.com. If you'd like to send an extended message rather than just, throwing it all on Twitter, shoot us a message to shotcallarshow@gmail.com.
Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Any rating that you want, any content that you want, say your honest thoughts. Let us know what you want to do. Let us know what you want to see from us. Put a question in there. You'll be, like I said, VIP, front of the line, TSA pre-check, right to the front. You put it through there.
Global entry.
So thank you guys for listening.
Appreciate you
For this
and
time. I'm JV.
Rich.
Andre.
And we're the Shotcallers.